Alright, kings and queens, and people that obviously hate the shit out of me because F you. But when it comes down to it, today we're going to be talking about some Zenless Zone Zero, or I like to call Zesty Zone Zero, because gosh dang, there's a lot of characters that's pretty zesty out this hoe. But with that being said, today I want to talk about my first impressions of the game that I was playing yesterday, and when it comes down to it, just talk about my overall thoughts of just everything in between, right? Now, let's just get the obvious one out here. Is this a Genshin killer? No, it is not. It is absolutely not. Let's just get that nonsense out the way, because that's the thing that everybody likes to put in their titles, thumbnails, and words, and all that type of shit for no reason. So, yeah, when it comes down to it, Zenless Zone Zero is a game that makes you go through different levels, essentially. It's basically just Honkai Impact 3rd. To be more precise, it's like Honkai Impact 3rd, but a bit more of an upgrade, I would say, because it feels also like, in a way, it feels like a Final Fantasy 15, but also Persona at the same time. And if you are a fan of those type of games with like the free motion to fight in a level type of thing, then you will be fine, honestly. And that's kind of what it really feels like. Obviously, the motion feels good in this game. It doesn't necessarily feel anything too jank or anything like that. It does take some getting used to, especially when you're learning a whole new gacha game, because new mechanics, different things that equals the same amount of things in Genshin, because like you gotta know what Primo Gems is. The equivalent of it is to, ZZZ and then all that other stuff the same way. I'm still not completely sure what everything is, but I have a pretty decent idea as to a lot of the stuff, honestly, right? And that's just kind of how it is. As far as like, I would say story goes, it's not fully got me. It hasn't got me to the fullest, but I am curious to see where this goes, honestly. To keep it very much a stack. Like, there's a lot of things that grips me about fiction, especially when it comes to games, and the high thing for me is the mainless story. Because when it comes down to it, if it's not going to be story, it's going to be a character. And to be real, in the main cast of characters, there's not a single person I'm super like heavily want to be involved with or invest my time into dealing with, because even Belle, which is the character I chose in the beginning of the game, I'm not super invested into her, which is kind of crazy to say, even though she literally reminds me of Ruby Rose. But still, nonetheless, I just don't feel super duper invested into her character yet, much less any character at all. So this puts me in a weird position of being like, oh, so I could just freely like whatever character I just want to like, instead of me being like in Genshin, where it's just like, I like Lamine, and Lamine is the only one that I think matters. But not in this case. It feels like you just like whatever the hell character you want to, honestly, right? And that just kind of feels different for me, personally. So if I were to say anybody, there would be the redhead girl Lolly that is like the president of the Belleville construction company or whatever, and then also the Oni ice demon chick that like has blue skin or whatever, and then even I think she's like a trucker, a Lolly trucker, right, with the damn axe and whatever. I can't think of her name. I don't even remember. I really don't. But when it comes down to it, it's like those three so far is like the main ones. I'm like, oh yeah, those are the ones I really want to deal with. So outside of that, there's not really much of anything. I can definitely see and understand why people like the shit out of Nicole. I can 100% get it. But her ass is money hungry as shit, so I'm not going to bother with that. So that's just how it is. But overall though, when it's all about the characters are pretty much good, right? They animate super well, right? So much so that they act like a damn cartoon, stretching and just bending all over the damn place in the most ridiculous fashion, which is a bit surprising, honestly, to me, because I'm so used to, I guess, playing Genshin in the little time I did play Star Rail. I'm so used to just everybody kind of moving around in a very specific way. So seeing ZZZ come through and just try to be like, yeah, we're tuned forced all the way up, it feels a bit weird. It feels a bit strange. Do I hate it? Not really, but it takes some getting used to, at least from an artistic standpoint of, how these characters move and how the world just kind of is. Another thing I would say I kind of noticed as well is that they kind of let their characters cut loose a bit more, right? Because I was expecting a bit of censorship, and there is censorship in this game, obviously. Like, I've seen some stuff, like, obviously, everybody knows infamously Nicole's poses and stuff has changed over time. And there was, like, the whole scene where the first person that you get to see turn into, I think, an ethereal, turn into one of those things, actually had like their jaw dislocated, but they just completely cut that out. So there's like a lot of censorship stuff in there, and Nicole's clothes kind of changed a little bit too. So there's some stuff in there, but there's some stuff they let fly, and I'm kind of surprised at. Like, the jiggle physics are pretty much there. They're not ridiculous, but they are pretty damn surprising for, you know, what Hoyoverse is able to allow. Much less, there is no like, oh, can we just like make the character disappear when you look underneath the character? Like, they kind of stop the camera a little short, but at least the character doesn't effing disappear, so that's nice to see at least. And then they also allow a lot of more cussing in the game than originally I thought they were gonna do, honestly, because this game is rated teen. Genshin is also rated teen, and for whatever reason, Genshin doesn't do that much cussing. They do some things, but they don't do a lot of things. And when it comes to ZZZ, you literally had in the first couple of seconds of the game some random reporter on the news talking about how effing F these damn, you know, gang people are from the Red Fang gang gonna be. Like, you know what, like, yeah, F these guys, do all that you know, stuff, and it's just like, all they do is just bleep it out, but still, it's like, dang, we really letting it fly like that? That's kind of crazy for a teen-rated game. What else is there? Oh, the gacha. So, when it comes to the gacha, is there any type of, like, more generousness to, you know, the game than there is in Genshin? I'm going to argue with you and just say no. Like, of course, the game is new, so of course they're going to give you, like, a lot of stuff out the gate and all that type of stuff, so that's not too surprising. But as far as, like, you know, is it going to be generous? It's probably just going to be as generous as Genshin is, right? Because basically, your Primogems or your Polychrome in this game is essentially the same price and number as how many shots you can take at getting a new character or a new thing, which, you know, is 160, so that's not changed. Then at the very same time, the banner also feel like it can be on some BS as well, so there's that as well. So, you know, it's just like, you're gonna basically expect the same type of gacha thing from Genshin. The only difference is the stuff that you're getting, which is like which is not weapons. Well, I think you can get weapons, but at the same time, it's mainly W engines or whatever the hell they are. I think, which are like artifacts or so. It feels like artifacts, kinda, and that's just kind of how that goes. And that's really what you're pulling for a lot of it, outside of like characters. So besides that, you know, that just kind of is what it is on the gacha side. So it's not really much that really changed. Basically, everything that you expect from Genshin is essentially within that part as well. The dialogue between characters is also pretty damn good too. Like, for example, there's been some dialogue options with Anby, which is the character that you kind of meet in the first chapter of the game. And when it comes down to it, she basically just talking about like, oh, if I don't survive this thing, I'll have this recording log. And then, you know, one of her other teammates will come in, try to question if they are actually the person that they say they are. And it's a pretty fun dialogue, honestly. Doesn't feel like people have a stick up their ass like they do in Star Rail, honestly, which is one of the big reasons as to why I dropped playing Star Rail, because I just didn't care for the dialogue in there. But when it comes down to it, it just feels like it flows nice. Feels like it's pretty much what you would expect. Billy Kid is the dumbass person that everybody kind of rags on, so it feels like Persona-ish on that part. So that's just kind of how it is. And yeah, so far, again, I don't hate my time with it. If I were to give an impression of a rating, I would probably say it's a 7 out of 10. I'm not fully invested into it, but I feel like I could be if I just kept playing the game. So we'll see how that goes. And that leads into like the main big thing I really want to talk about at the very end of this, which is going to be time management. Now, for a lot of people, they don't have all the time in the world to sit down, play a game for so many hours, and then just, you know, chill at the end of the day and just kind of do it all again. A lot of people don't have all that time. So if you're playing something like Genshin and then you want to pick up ZZZ or some other gacha game, you're probably wondering like, how do I divide my time? And that's kind of like the big thing. If you're not gonna focus hard on like ZZZ, then I would definitely say maybe you might want to take a few days off here and there, maybe, and then you could just like, oh, I don't know, like maybe come back every now and again, right? Like ZZZ also has like, you know, daily stuff too, but at the very same time, I know not everybody maybe wants to come back every single day. So I would recommend that you maybe would take off some days, do your stuff in Genshin, and then just kind of do that. Or the opposite, if you put ZZZ first and then you do your stuff in, you know, Genshin a few days later or whatever. So that just is what it is. Really, again, it's just going to come down to time management, how that goes, because that junk is definitely something I have to consider myself, because as someone that makes content, much less do some drawing on the side as well, much less try to learn and do other stuff too, it's like I don't have all the time in the world to be playing both Genshin and ZZZ. So at the end of the day, it's a lot. Like if I was in a position where money wasn't a factor, or, you know, obviously nothing, if this could really just be like a job, honestly, and just I do this and that's how things work out for me, then obviously I have way more time to do, you know, Genshin and both ZZZ at the same time. But obviously we ain't there yet. So as far as this thing kind of goes, I might have to try to manage it where, again, Zenless Zone Zero is essentially going to be like a game I'll come back to every few days, essentially, because it's just too much time to play all this stuff at the very same time, especially since Genshin literally in the next month is going to have a whole new ass region. So again, a lot of stuff that you probably should consider when you're trying to get into both of these games at the same time. And then you might have another third game come out, like Sparking Zero, some shit. So again, it just comes down to time management. Just use your time wisely and try to figure out how you want to go about it. Essentially, that's like the biggest main thing that you have to worry about. But overall though, Zenless Zone Zero is pretty damn fun. I can definitely see how it can get maybe a bit boring, because this level design, at least as far as I've gotten to, doesn't change all too much. I do at least like there is a new-ish type of mechanic where it's like, oh, before you go into battles, you have to kind of go and do like a little bit of a puzzle from this TV screen and go to a whole bunch of other TV screens, and that's a little interesting. So it's not just straight up battle after battle after battle. It's just like, yeah, there's other things that add too, and then there's other side things that you can do too, like go to the arcade and play some weird ass Snake itch.io game, or like some other stuff that you could probably do in the game. So there's things that you can do, but at the very same time, it's basic. Like if you played Persona 5, you'll pretty much get the gist of where this game is going, right? So there is definitely stuff that this game is going to do, and there's things I can imagine it doing. But again, it just comes down to time management and how much you want to invest into the game too. So that just is what it is on that. But yeah, overall, again, would recommend that you go play ZZZ if you haven't. It definitely does, I feel like, allow more than what Genshin could do in terms of like characters and dialogue and how they act and stuff. And if that is something that you would like to play, especially if it's something Honkai Impact 3rd related, or more so Persona 5 Strikers related, then definitely try to, you know, get into it if you can, because it's not really a bad game, honestly. So that's just how it is for me personally. So hopefully you did enjoy. Let me know if you've tried out ZZZ, because I want to know if you know, what characters you got, what characters you're looking for, you know, and all that type of stuff, because I'm hella curious. Like I just want them, you know, president of the Billabong company, because she about bad as hell and she has a hammer and she reminds me of Musashi from the PS2, honestly. So that's just how it is. But yeah, that's essentially all I got for this one. So hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification when out. Also follow me on the socials and like to donate to the channel. Kofi and Cash App is available as well. Until then, it's Boy J, signing off. Have a blessed day.